It's time now for another legislative report on J-98, this time featuring State Senator Jason Crowell. And, Senator, I would imagine that the weather was the story of the week in Jefferson City this week, wasn't it?
Boy, it sure was. We, like many across the state, were hammered in Jefferson City, as much as 22 inches of snow with a good couple inch layer of ice underneath. So it really ground the Capitol to a halt, and because of safety concerns, we didn't want to have any public hearings, didn't want to call anyone into the Capitol, and really predominantly because we have tremendous staff that live all in and around Jefferson City that help support the Senate when it's in session. We didn't want to force them to come in these treacherous conditions. We kind of lost the week to weather, but it's early enough in the session that we'll be able to make that up and still stay focused on doing the people's business.
Well, as someone who got through the worst of the snow and then saw what the ice had done before you finally got to Cape Girardeau, where it was mostly rain, you got to see the really good work done by Missouri Department of Transportation, the Highway Patrol, and others.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you the outstanding job that MoDOT road crews did. Just remember, as many of us looked out of the windows at how awful it was out there with the snow and ice and rain. The men and women of MoDOT, the men and women of our public safeties, both on the state level and all the way down to the local level, they were in it. They were doing what their job is, from our power line crews at Ameren to our rural co-ops, those that kept the power on and got it up and running when it went down. We really need to take a moment, and if you bump into any one of them out there today at a gas station or at a local diner, just tell them thank you, because they really did an amazing job all across the state, getting I-70 open, our big state thoroughfares open, keeping the power up, and it's just an awe-inspiring thing to see that these men and women, while we were warm inside, looking out going, my lands, what a bunch of snow and what a bunch of horrible ice. They were in it, keeping us safe and keeping us protected.
So kind of a lost week this week in terms of the legislature, but when you get back next week, will that just put even more pressure on you to get the things done that you need to do?
We're fortunate enough that we're early enough into this session that we can kind of pivot. We may not take President's Day off now. We're also like a local school district. We had some holidays built in, a spring break, an Easter, a President's Day. So if we find ourselves getting behind and need to play a little bit of catch up to move things along, we do have those built-in days to be able to get us on track. So I'm not too worried about this happening this early in January. If this was the last week of session in May, it would have been devastating. We may have lost some things and had to reevaluate it, but we're early enough along that we'll be able to deal with this just fine.
Give me one big ticket item that's going to be discussed in the coming week.
Well, I think what really is going to start unfolding is you're going to see our economic development plan, and you're going to start getting to hear two different strategies on economic development on the federal level, and particularly in previous Congresses. The idea is that government, if it spends enough of other people's money, it can create jobs and it can turn this economy around. That was the whole idea of the stimulus. The philosophy that we're going to be moving forward in Jefferson City is one of limited government regulation, reform of our tort laws and our workers' compensation laws, as well as a cap on our taxes, and particularly our inheritance tax and our corporate franchise tax. Those are two measures that I think will hit the Senate floor next week, and we'll be able to start creating environment in the state of Missouri, particularly with our brethren to the east, Illinois, raising taxes by almost 66%, draw a real contrast between being open for business and our government supporting that philosophy on the state level versus like Illinois, where they continue to take other people's money and spend it willy-nilly.
Senator, thanks for the visit this week. Be safe, and we'll talk to you again next week, okay?
Thanks so much.
And again, that's State Senator Jason Crowell with his weekly